Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, she's always one step ahead, bending your decisions, twisting your words, making you doubt yourself? That sinking feeling, like your mind isn't fully your own, you're not imagining it. And today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on something most men will never understand, something most women don't even consciously realize they do. Manipulation isn't always obvious. It doesn't always look like lies or yelling. Sometimes it's subtle, almost invisible. A glance, a sigh, a word that lands in your mind and refuses to leave. And when you've been on the receiving end for years, it becomes normal. You start to question yourself more than you question her. You start to believe that your feelings are irrational, that your instincts are wrong, that you're overreacting. But here's the truth. Those instincts were never wrong. They were the early warning system you ignored because you were conditioned to think her perspective mattered more than yours. Most men never learn how to defend against it. They learn how to negotiate, how to please, how to compromise, but they never learn how to protect their own mind. And that's why this problem feels endless. You've been trained subtly from the first date, the first compliment, the first argument to give up pieces of yourself without realizing it. That laughter she loves, sometimes it's not joy. It's calibration. Every smile, every nod, every sigh is her way of testing boundaries, mapping what she can control. And you, because you care, because you want harmony, you give in. But imagine for a moment if you stopped, if you truly stopped bending to her subtle cues and started reclaiming the space that's yours, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That feeling of confusion, it would shrink. The doubts planted in your mind, they'd fade. The arguments that leave you drained, they'd stop having power over you. And here's the kicker. Women, like all humans, respect control and clarity more than compliance. They crave authenticity. When you stop being a puppet, your presence becomes magnetic. This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming aware. Manipulation preys on empathy, on kindness, on the desire to connect. It doesn't care about love. It cares about influence. And the moment you recognize the difference, you regain power you didn't even know you lost. Every relationship you've ever had, every frustration you've ever felt suddenly makes sense. You see the patterns, you see the triggers, you see the hidden calculations in words, in gestures, in silence. Right now, take a breath. Let that sink in. This isn't theory. It's not manipulation manuals or internet tricks. It's human psychology, the raw, unfiltered mechanics of influence, control, and desire. And if you stay with me through the next few minutes, you're going to see how to stop being manipulated, how to protect your mind, and how to become someone who can't be controlled, who can't be swayed, who finally answers to no one but themselves. Because the first step to freedom is recognition. The second is resolve, and that's where we're going next. You might think manipulation is obvious, loud arguments, guilt trips, lies, but the truth is far more subtle. It operates below the surface, in the parts of your mind you don't even realize are listening. Your brain is wired to seek connection, to interpret signals from others, especially women, because historically, emotional attunement kept humans alive. And when that wiring is exploited, even unconsciously, you start reacting without thinking. You start defending, apologizing, and explaining before you even understand why. Think about the last time you felt drained after a conversation, even though nothing dramatic happened. No yelling, no betrayal, no big argument, just a sense of unease, regret, or doubt. That was manipulation in its purest form. It doesn't need shouting. It works in whispers, in the spaces between words, a sigh, a raised eyebrow, a pause in a text. These are all triggers designed to push your buttons. Your mind tries to solve the puzzle. Why is she upset? What did I do wrong? And in that search, you lose your center, piece by piece. Women, consciously or not, know this. They know where men carry vulnerability, and they can subtly press those areas without ever raising their voice. Emotional ambiguity is their tool. Uncertainty is their weapon. When she leaves a message unanswered for hours, or reacts just enough to confuse you, or hints at disappointment without saying it outright, she's testing boundaries. And here's what most men don't realize. Your instinctive reaction to overthink, to explain, to chase clarity is exactly what feeds the cycle. Now I want you to imagine something terrifying yet empowering. Imagine that every subtle pull, every hidden jab, every twist in conversation that made you question yourself could be seen clearly, stripped of its power. Imagine recognizing her triggers before they hit your gut, before they hit your mind. That uncertainty, that doubt dissolves, and the energy she tried to drain from you, it stays yours. It never leaves. It's not manipulation in every interaction, but the principle is universal. Influence works best when it's invisible, when the target doesn't know they're reacting. And until you see it, until you consciously map the triggers in your own life, you remain prey to the silent strategies playing on your mind. This is why self-awareness isn't optional. It's your armor. It's the line that separates men who feel controlled and reactive from men who feel powerful and deliberate. You might feel anger, frustration, or even betrayal reading this, but hold on to it. Those emotions are proof that your mind is waking up. Manipulation only works when you accept it as normal. The moment you question it, the moment you dissect it, the moment you see the mechanics, it loses control. And the best part? Once you understand it, you can choose exactly how to respond, how to protect your energy, and how to maintain your mental sovereignty. Your mind is your first territory. No one enters it without your permission. And right now, you're on the path to reclaiming that permission. Now that you can see the manipulation, feel the patterns, it's time to take control. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now, because every moment you delay, you give away more of your mind, more of your energy, more of your presence. The first rule of reclaiming power is awareness in action. Awareness alone is not enough. Awareness without execution is like knowing there's fire in the house but staying on the couch. Start with boundaries. And I don't mean the polite, negotiable kind that people talk about at workshops. I mean unshakable, non-negotiable lines that define what is yours. Your time, your energy, your emotional state, these are sacred. If she pushes past them, you don't explain, you don't justify, you simply act. Walking away, pausing the conversation, taking time to reflect, these are not acts of anger. They are acts of sovereignty. Every time you enforce your boundaries, your mind recalibrates. You stop reacting from fear or guilt and start responding from clarity. Next, recognize the triggers she's been using. The sighs, the pauses, the teasing comments. These aren't harmless. They are signals. Map them. Name them. When you feel the tug of confusion, when doubt creeps in like a shadow, pause. Ask yourself, is this my reality or is this a reaction she's engineered? That one question, repeated over time, rewires your instinct. Your mind begins to filter influence instead of absorbing it. And when your mind is protected, your emotional energy is invincible. Then comes the subtle power of detachment. Not coldness, not indifference, but neutrality. When you detach, you remove the fuel from manipulation. She wants a reaction. She wants drama. She wants to pull strings. If you respond calmly, measured, without internalizing her games, her influence collapses. The dynamic shifts silently. Respect emerges, not fear, not anxiety, not obedience. Women are drawn to men who are self-contained, not men who are malleable. Control your reactions and control the energy in the room. Finally, strengthen your inner narrative. Your beliefs, your purpose, your values, these are anchors. When you stand firmly in them, no whisper, no glance, no emotional test can sway you. Repeat to yourself, I am responsible for my mind. I am the gatekeeper of my feelings. I decide my worth. Say it until it feels real. Every time you act in alignment with your inner narrative, you create an invisible shield. And this shield isn't about manipulation, it's about authenticity. It's about becoming someone who cannot be controlled because you honor your own mind first. Remember, freedom isn't about escaping relationships or avoiding women. It's about reclaiming your mental sovereignty while still connecting genuinely. The men who master this don't just survive interactions, they thrive in them. They navigate relationships with clarity, confidence, and magnetism. And every step you take to enforce boundaries, recognize triggers, detach wisely, and strengthen your inner narrative compounds your power exponentially. The moment you decide to stop being a puppet, you realize you were never powerless. You just forgot that your mind is yours. And reclaiming it, that's where real respect and real influence begins. By now, you've seen the patterns, recognized the triggers, and started reclaiming control over your mind. But awareness and action alone aren't enough. Real power comes from mastering your internal world, from building an unshakable sense of self that no one can bend, confuse, or manipulate. It's the difference between reacting to life and creating it. The men who are never manipulated share one invisible quality: clarity. Their thoughts aren't scattered, their decisions aren't clouded by guilt or overthinking, and their hearts aren't hostage to another person's moods. They understand one fundamental truth: influence works only when you allow it to. Every subtle jab, every silent test, every twist of words can only control you if you give it permission. And today, you're learning to say silently and firmly, not anymore. Here's the hardest part: the emotional work. You will feel guilt. You will feel fear. You will feel pressure to revert to old patterns because they're comfortable, even if they hurt you. That discomfort is the sign of transformation. Lean into it. Own it. Every time you feel doubt creeping in, every time you're tempted to apologize for enforcing a boundary, recognize it as the echo of manipulation you once accepted. And then deliberately choose yourself. Protect your mind, guard your energy, honor your instincts. That is how freedom is built. Another key is observation without attachment. Watch the dynamics without needing to control the outcome. When you stop trying to predict her actions, when you stop chasing approval or affection, the game shifts completely. You become the calm in the storm. You create space for genuine connection instead of reactive tension. Manipulation only thrives where chaos reigns. Bring order and the energy changes. Suddenly, respect replaces confusion. Authority replaces doubt. And attraction? It follows naturally. Finally, integrate what you've learned into every interaction, every thought, every decision. This isn't a temporary strategy, it's a mindset. It's a life where your mind belongs to you, your emotions serve you, and your presence commands respect without needing to prove anything. Imagine every past frustration, every draining argument, every self-doubt moment transformed into clarity, strength, and confidence. That man, the one who can't be manipulated, isn't a fantasy. He's you, right now, if you choose to step fully into it. Before you go, I want to leave you with a simple personal test, an equation to measure your growth. Ask yourself, when I feel doubt, confusion, or guilt, do I pause and act from my mind or react from her influence? Think about it deeply, then write your answer in the comments below. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you found clarity here, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend. It's time we stop giving our minds away and start taking them back. The power was never outside. It was always inside you. And now you finally see it.